No, you can't build a CRM for small businesses because everything happens on WhatsApp, right? And WhatsApp does not have appropriate APIs to access all the stuff that's happening there. So hence, it's just chaos. So I know a lot of middle managers spend 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours on WhatsApp just passing information. Think about it, right?
Hi, Dharmesh.
Hey.
Super stoked to have you on the podcast. Really looking forward to our conversation today. But before we dive into it, I mean, you've had such a diverse set of experiences, and I would love for you to, just tell us about your story a little bit and share with the audience a little bit about your journey.
Sure. I describe myself as someone who's very interested in the intersection of design, technology, and culture. I'm a designer by training. I did my master's in new media design from this institute called National Institute of Design, Ahmedabad, right? Very much trying to find rooted problems in India. Somehow I'm very attracted to that. I have been working around that. So I had a bunch of full-time stints with different fintech companies. It was a very accidental one. My first company was Rupeek, which was a gold loan lending startup. And after that, I was heading design for GST for ClearTax. And my last full-time stint was with this fintech API platform called Setu, where I was running a user research lab called D91 Labs, where we documented financial journeys of people across India and put them up as long format engaging stories, right? Post 2019, I moved my entire expertise into ethnography and user research. So the last 2019 to 2025, like almost 6 years, I spent more on research than on design. So 2015 to 2019 was largely about UX design. Research was a part of it. I think post 2019, when I shifted to research, is when I my work slowly started expanding and more people started to read about it. Um, Typically, user research is a very, very guarded field. You do user research within companies. Companies sort of keep those data internally. They try to improve their products. I had a slightly different worldview. I found every opportunity to talk more about it, not just in terms of what are the methods, but also the insights around it. I think that has given more visibility to my work, and people today know me for my Indian consumer insights.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the building for the Indian consumer is so unique and so much fun. And I myself, I'm coming to realize that as I've, started to build here in India. And also, I've been a big fan of your writings at the India Notes, right? So just from, what you've come to understand, what do you think is one of the most misunderstood or counterintuitive things about how people of India interact with digital technology?
My understanding has been that nobody gives a damn about your product. When you are the builder, you're thinking about the same problem statement 24 by 7. If you're a product manager of Swiggy, you're thinking about how people eat all the time, but people are not thinking about how to eat all the time, right? Similarly, if you're a product manager of Uber, you're thinking about how to move people from one place to another. But when people are wanting to move, that's the time that they're thinking about Uber, Ola, even hailing a cab or an auto, whatever it is, right? So the problem statement that we blew up in our mind might not be as, it might not occupy as much as mind space to the people, right? So what this results in is over engineering a lot of things in terms of solutions, right? Oh, what if this happens? What if that happens? I'm trying to bring in nuance. I'm trying to use for the edge cases, etc. All of that, right? But if you think from a consumer lens, where you know that an individual has 24 hours, out of the 24 hours, how much time they're spending for themselves, how much time they're spending on like work, how much time they're spending on personal, how much time they're spending on themselves. If you think about the lens from the user side, you will start to know how minuscule this problem is, right? Can you solve it, that problem in that apt manner? Uh, is not necessarily how most people think. you're mostly thinking from I am Uber, hence I need to think always from like the transportation lens and looking at the user. But what does the user look from a transportation? If in terms of how they look at transportation is not the lens most people think about.
So also like going back to your experience at D19 Labs, right? You talk about bridging the empathy gap. Could you expand a little more on that? What do you mean by bridging the empathy gap? D91.
So 91 stands for like the India code, right? So we wanted to name it designed for India. It sounded a little cliche. So okay, let's give a twist is when we realized okay, 91 is the India code for like the telephone, right?
Oh,
So it's plus 91. So we said okay, D for design and plus 91 at D91 Labs, right? So that's how the name came about it, right? Um, the bridging the empathy gap was largely about we realized that most of the fintechs were building for the same audience similar kinds of products, right? But if you had to build unique products you need to understand the consumer lens of how they look at money, right? So when everybody is either sitting in Mumbai, Gurgaon or Bangalore and looking at only their first level second level circles of people and assuming this is how most of the India behaves, and then you're taking product decisions, you might not necessarily come up with most innovative products, right?
hmm.
So there is definitely a gap between what an average Indian in a tier 3 city or town thinks about and how a product manager thinks about building fintech in a metro city. That gap of bringing in like the consumer understanding about their worldview around fintech is what we were trying to bridge through D91, and we were trying to do it not through more quantitative reports but more through qualitative studies. So the representation was not more around bar charts and pie graphs but more around stories and narratives, right? I strongly believe one really strong story can change your worldview as opposed to giving you like 100 different charts, right? That was the whole context.
No, absolutely. So I'm a statistician by training, right? And I'm a big believer in number and charts and all of it. But then there's still a lot of richness of information that you get from touch and feel, right?
Yeah,
By actually like, being on the ground and like hearing a few stories that gives you such strong intuitions. And it's definitely super important.
yeah, right. Like, let's say, take a look at all the most important decisions you probably made in life. They never result in doing a lot of logical calculation. Starting from the person whom you marry to the kind of home that you buy to the kind of like vehicle that you buy, these are all very important purchases, right?
Yes,
You do it more via gut feeling, something moves you, right? So yeah, that's where I was coming from.
awesome. So, Dharmesh, to change gears a little. So, you've had a very long and successful career as a researcher, designer, and then instructor. And then you've jumped into entrepreneurship. You
Yeah.
founded a company called Business Hero. So, what made you do it? Why did you like, pursue the entrepreneurial path? What made you feel like you've got to build this?
To be honest, more than I got to build this, I was actually becoming more complacent because I was getting into this zone where I felt like I was not pushing enough in terms of learning, understanding new things. I wanted to put myself to some sort of a challenge to see if I could do more or better. Like also it's a journey towards learning new things, right? So one was definitely regret minimization to say that, hey, I missed the bus when I should have been like an app developer when probably Steve Jobs introduced like iPhone. I remember watching not live streaming, but watching the video of actually iPhone 3G when was it was launched, right? It was a big deal, and people spoke about it because before that we had like I was in college, VIT, like we had a bunch of us had the resistive touch Motorola phones, right? That
Yep.
itself was a big leap from like this like the traditional keypad phones, right? So when Apple launched this, it was phenomenal, right? and I didn't know what it would do for like humanity in the next 10 years, right? I couldn't guess it because I was young. I didn't know more about it, right? So for me, the AI wave felt like being at that moment when iPhone 3G first launched, right? So I missed that bus. I didn't want to miss this. And I also felt that I wanted to get into a new journey to kind of reinvent myself. And that's why I jumped into entrepreneurship, right? Nothing else. I don't have like a very serious answer to that, right? But it's mostly only this.
No, that makes complete sense, right? And the AI wave is here and it's real. You've got to jump onto that bus before it leaves. And also, coming back to what Business Hero does, right? Your area of focus is AI agents and WhatsApp. We at Ecos as well, are focused in a similar distribution channel, but for healthcare. It's very obvious to me why WhatsApp actually presents a huge opportunity. And it looks like it's a very deliberate choice from your end as well. So just wanted to hear your thoughts on, how this platform and this interface choice directly addresses the, say it another way, how there is such a huge opportunity using WhatsApp in India, and what are your thoughts and insights on that?
See, everybody knows most of the Indians who have smartphones use WhatsApp. I'm not going to
Yes.
get into that. I'm not going to talk about like how big the TAM is, etc. But let me tell you the lens and how I look at
Hmm.
softwares, people, and India in general, right? A small story is that in 2019, I had a colleague called Puranjay who was interning at that time at Setu. He was a student from Hong Kong University, right? And he came back and we would discuss a lot or exchange notes between how China is and how India is, right? So one day he came to office and he brought his Hong Kong phone and he showed me this entire world of WeChat,
Hmm.
right? So for the people who don't know WeChat, WeChat is a super app for everything in one. Think phone pay plus WhatsApp plus Amazon, everything into one, right? What China, like a blessing in disguise, what was the moment you cut off internet to like the world's biggest social network, biggest search engine, biggest like video streaming platform, you're forced to reinvent.
Hmm.
They never went into just adopting what is there in the West and adjusting with it. So they reinvented everything. So for me, from that day on, I had a strong belief that it's inevitable for a WeChat like platform to raise in India. For a long time, I assumed it is going to be PhonePe,
Hmm.
but now WhatsApp has a long shot at it. So actually, Google Pay tried, PhonePe tried. I think they were not able to merge this transaction layer plus conversation layer. But I
Right.
think WhatsApp has a real shot at merging the conversation layer and the transaction layer.
No, I agree. And also, if you think about it, right, as you said, almost every Indian has WhatsApp in his pocket, right? It is the go-to chat application here. And also, most AI interfaces in some way boil down to some sort of a chat interface or a voice
Yeah,
interface. And that's what makes that combination really powerful, in
yeah.
my opinion.
No, I also have a lot of disappointments towards WhatsApp.
Hmm.
I believe that because of the Indians' attitude, जो चल रहा है चलने दो, like whatever is working, let it work attitude, has forced us to adjust everything within WhatsApp. It is actually a super app. There is groups which are running matrimony like. There are groups which are for hiring. There are groups which are for like, dating. There are groups which are for like, I don't know, like real estate. Everything happens on WhatsApp. But because WhatsApp's adamancy on not decoupling a lot of these features and giving appropriate ways to manage this better is forcing Indians to just say, okay, let's just be chaotic, right? From here on, I see only two things potentially happen. Either it's a golden egg that's waiting to be hatched, or it's a ticking time bomb. One day it'll blast. Somewhere I feel like India's productivity and GDP is being also held back because of this WhatsApp, right?
Can,
No, you
can you
can't build
explain
this.
that?
No, you can't build a CRM for small businesses because everything happens on WhatsApp, right? And WhatsApp does not have appropriate APIs to access all the stuff that's happening there. So hence, it's just chaos. So I know a lot of middle managers spend 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours on WhatsApp just passing information. Think about it, right? A senior person sitting and spending like half an hour, 1 hour. Ideally, they should be doing more productive stuff. Now we have not even evolved WhatsApp like Slack, where at least there are like different apps you can integrate. There is threads, there is like better way to sort of organize stuff. Now, one explanation you could have is saying, hey, this is supposed to be a app to chat and share memes and like send good morning messages. Why are you using for like business use case? But boss, if it has evolved into that, then it has evolved into that.
People are already using it.
Correct, right? But WhatsApp's focus could be that, okay, I am a global app. Though 1 billion people are using in India, but the WhatsApp is being used by, I don't know, like 3 billion people. There is Brazil, there is Indonesia. They are not really interested probably in solving like a CRM use case for like one corner of India, right? So from that perspective, I feel to some extent WhatsApp is also holding back a lot of stuff that can potentially be possible. It's both a technology problem and also a cultural problem, right?
Yeah, I see that.
As opposed to WeChat, the moment you chat with one business, there is a interaction that's established between you and the business, and from then on, the business has like the ample amount of tools to target you. Let's say if Arvind hasn't showed up in 30 days, I can create a custom poster like 30% off only for him and send it. That's the level of sophistication the business owners have around WeChat in China, right?
I completely agree with you on that. Also, Dharmesh, beyond the product that you're working on, right, which is an AI-driven product, how has AI been helping you personally as a founder?
So if I reflect back, it helps me do things a little faster. Now, sometimes we also confuse efficiency for efficacy, right? It's helping me do faster, but am I getting more things done? I don't know. So if you are going in the wrong direction, if you're going faster, what's the point? So it's definitely, I have a specific idea in mind. I want to express it to someone, and AI helps me get closer to that reality. So, for example, if I had to spend like 2 days to 3 days put together a prototype in Figma, I might be focusing on wrong things around finding the right icon to the color to the shades and shadows. Like any designer, you sit there, the canvas is so tempting that you get into the pixel perfect, but you do might not even need that to show it to some customer for a prototype. As opposed to if I put it on lovable, I'm able to bring that time down. Now, what do you do with the rest of the time is the question, right? So, am I bringing the time down? Does that mean I can go get quick feedback and iterate? If yes, then it's good, right? But the moment you bring the time down, you feel like, okay, I am doing fine tuning on that particular prototype itself because just because it can do it faster, I'm giving it more instruction to do fine tuning because I have like this theoretical 100 use cases. I'm going to put all of that in the prototype and overload it, then you're going in the wrong direction. So AI is a friend if you're able to sort of use it better, but it can also be an enemy because it's so addictive that you can be drawn to a wrong path for a long time before you even know it.
Yeah, it can also incentivize laziness in a sense.
I wouldn't say laziness, but yeah, but we have to know like if my priority, if I know what is I need more clearly, if my clarity is there, then AI will help. If you don't have clarity, AI cannot give you clarity. That's what I meant.
But do you think AI is helpful or can help you go beyond a prototype, from a prototype to a functional product in the market? How useful has AI been for that?
It does help. Like in terms of design, it brings some time down. In terms of development, there are parts where we know it's mundane and something that they need to repeatedly do, something that's very predictable, right? So those places it definitely sort of helps. But you need to have checks and balances in terms of security, testing, making sure it covers all the use cases, it's not going haywire, etc. Without any sort of moderation, can a non-developer build a prototype? I don't think so. Something that can go in production and can also stay secure and can also like grow to like a lot of millions of users. I don't think currently, as of today, 29th July 2025, I don't think. Things could change tomorrow itself, right? But we don't know. But I definitely feel there's a rapid development. I have to give it a few months and see.
That's true. Yeah, if anything, things are changing at a fast click, and that's also one of the things that I find really exciting about the space. But hey,
Yeah.
do you think a solopreneur can, build today what would have taken maybe a small team of 5 to 6 people in the past?
Yeah, you can build, but who will buy? That's the who will use the question, right? So it's like this, like say for example, like I have a camera, Mani Ratnam has a camera, but you will watch Mani Ratnam film, right? Just because I can go and shoot videos, you're not gonna watch my videos.
No, but if
So
Mani Ratnam was using AI, would he still need all his, as many crew members?
he
That's
might
the
not need,
question.
but he will still need to know what to get done. So for him to actually, let's say even prompt, put it very simple sense, right? Even if he had to prompt a certain lighting, all of that would be his experience he would have gotten from his all the cinematographers he would have worked with before. It again goes back to the thing of if I know the clarity, if I know what I want, if I have the taste in building an art, then I can get it done. So then it's valuable. If you don't have a perspective into the artwork, that's why in design also we call don't call it like interface, we call it artifact in many cases. If you can build that like product as an artifact, if you have a perspective to what you're building, then it's valuable. Otherwise you will find like 100 different like just like we see we always had a way to create some website, like you could create medium pages, you can create Facebook pages, you can create Substack blogs. There might be millions of them which is dead, nobody reads it, nobody uses it. What now? There is a lovable app. So what? There can be millions
Right.
of lovable apps. Like nobody might use it. The ones who use it is the ones who which are built with some taste.
It's got to be built with taste, and it's also got to be something that people want and need that solves a real, problem in the world, I
I
guess.
don't think so. Like say for example, let's say let's I find movies as a very good metaphor to think about this. Right?
Love it.
Today you open Netflix. There are like thousands of movies. Hotstar has thousands of it. Right? Who grabs the eyeballs? The ones who make some noise around it, right? So there might be an indie film which could be the best film, could have gotten an award. It might be sitting in like a small little corner of Hotstar. You won't even discover it. Would you call it a bad film? No, it's actually a great film. But it was not surfaced to me. Nobody spoke about it. That's what will happen with even products. Like how much you can solve, like say for example, food ordering me, how much you can solve.
Yeah, that's actually a very interesting take, right? It's about what you consider a product. Are you
Yeah.
are you calling the movie the product here, or is Netflix the product?
No, I'm calling the movie the product. Here, movie is the product. Netflix is a way to sort of watch it,
Right.
right? It's a platform. Let's say, for example, even in like a lovable, or let's say you're building a product, right? They need to reach some user, correct? There needs to be some medium to take that product and reach you. What are the mediums? You can either build your following in social media, or you can put it in product hunt, you put it in indie hacker, or put it on Twitter, or you run some ads, etc. But there are only so much mediums. Everybody will be competing for the same space.
No, I think I actually like, I'm not sure if this is what you're going at, but you might be like, hitting on something interesting. Because if you're going to be talking about movies, call movies
Hmm.
the product, I think one of the problems with that is that you have it almost infinite supply, right? You have a lot
Hmm.
of movies in the market. You have a movie for almost anybody at any taste.
Yeah.
And when you talk about software products, historically that has not been the case, right? The ability to create software products and like, even distribute it has only been within just a few people. But now, when you're with AI and you're talking about personalization at scale, right? You might just have like a product that looks different for every single person. And then I guess it becomes interesting to imagine a world in that kind of a setup.
This is something like a friend of mine said it was damn funny. Okay, I'll just tell you, like in terms of when you say personalization, right? So Google had launched this virtual try-on, right? Where you can take a photograph and you could be appear on this dress, right? So my friend was like, it's damn funny. He was like, bro, I will buy a dress only if Hrithik Roshan wears it. If you show me a dress where I'm wearing it, I'll definitely not buy it. So personalization also does not mean everybody sort of would like it. This is a very controversial take, right? So I don't know, like let's say for example, I also feel like whatever the content has hit a wall where there is too many of them. Everything could be good at some level. The only ones that make noise stand out of the crowd and everybody will go and sort of like watch it. The same things might happen to products also, is what I feel, right? uh, like I mentioned, like I say that there could be a product which is very like a movie. Let's take like a movie which is very very exclusively sort of like did it for me, like customized for me. If I don't discover it, I will never be able to get access it, right? For me, the discovery platform, the channels through how you can discover is minimal. Our attention span is minimal. So within this playground, this idea, this very utopian of saying that hey, everybody will have their own set of products and there is unlimited number of opportunities to address. I don't believe in it, is what I'm saying.
Okay, so as a designer, in an AI world, right, in an AI first world, how does that process change? The process of designing for a consumer with AI.
Yes, earlier we were designing tools. See, at the end of the day, what is human computer interaction? I have a certain goal in mind and I want it to get done, and you are providing like a maze of options to figure out. It could be downloading a report, adding a friend, uploading a reel, etc., all of that, right? Now, what happens when you remove all the tooling and you put a person there who's asking what do you want, and I say what I want and it gets done? It's like that, right? So it's like it's the, how do we put it, right? You have to, for designers, they'll have to start designing personas as opposed to designing like navigations, menu bar, all these toolings, right? So you need to start thinking in terms of like the solving problems itself rather than crafting the tools that will help them solve problems. So when you're thinking about an app, now you're not thinking about bottom navigation bar, you're not thinking about cards, you're not thinking about like profile page. You're thinking about what kind of personality this particular app should contain. Should it be friendly? Should it be more authoritative? Should it be, should it evoke a mother-like feeling? This was always the case when you were doing user research, but there was another step where you would break down, okay, this feeling into some sort of brand guidelines, UI components, etc. Now you might not go there, but here itself you should be able to convert it, right? So that is where I feel design will more move towards.
Do you see the design shifting more towards voice interfaces as agentic becomes more commonplace?
Voice will be one of the additional mediums which we will leverage. Like just like how you were earlier doing a lot of the interaction between like the computer and the human was through mouse, right? And then
Yep.
came the mouse pad, and then came the thumb when it came to the phone, right? So voice will be one more way to interact with the more, will become a more common way to sort of interact with these computer interfaces, right? But will it replace everything? I don't think so.
Yeah,
Contextually, it will probably change. It will become more common.
got it. So how about so when you talk about the ease of building, right? Uh, Now it seems like almost anybody can bring their idea to life. So in a a competitive landscape like that, how do you build defensible products?
It's very difficult. You can't. Unless you're doing something in like deep tech where you have a core mode. Let's say, for example, it's very difficult to build another geo, right? And if you, even if you want to like build something, then you need to have like a lot of upfront like capital expenditure to sort of get there, right? it becomes slightly more difficult to build another, like say Swiggy, etc. All of that. Yeah, so in that way, when everybody can build anything, what will stand out is one, your deeper understanding of the problem statement. The more niche you become, the more customized, the more personalized you become, and in targets like few set of like customers, it's still okay, right? That can be one moat. The second one is who makes the loudest noise, right? So that will also become a moat for many people. Again, going back to like the movies example, right? So there might be that potentially Bollywood is like a whatever, like it's a dream place for so many people, and yet you have only like these top 10 bankable stars. Why, right?
I think that some domains by default follow the power law, right? Especially has to do with you know artistic professions,
Yeah.
whether it's like actors or even artists and musicians. I think that the game dynamics of that landscape is such that just very few capture all the gains, and then you have a long tail.
So think about it, right? Let's say, for example, why did that profession even become that way, right? So you look at someone like Shah Rukh Khan, or even look at like someone like Chiranjeevi or Rajnikant, right? You're completely moved by their charisma, and you say that, hey, I want to be there, right? And you made that entire profession a lot more sexier than it is. I think that's happening even with entrepreneurship, right?
I agree. I think that actually that's a very insightful point, right? I think that if you also, step back and think about all these professions, they have typically been professions that have a lower barrier to entry. In the
Yeah,
sense, you don't really need formal
yeah,
education or like
yeah.
skill building of any sort. Now, if you're going to say that, building a product is also going to be low barrier to entry, then it could very well be the case.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So just like that, right? You might be very much of impressed by Sachin. The next day, you might actually take the bat and actually go and play. You will still play cricket, but for you to play from like a street cricket to like a whatever, like the main match in IPL or like the main India team, there's a vast difference, right? So similarly, like this, right? So today you look at someone like Jeff Bezos and they say, hey, I want to start an e-commerce. Great, go to Lovable, build an e-commerce. But from there to actually become Jeff Bezos, there's a long path.
Very true. Very true. So, coming back to India, looking at the current AI landscape in India, what narrative do you think is overhyped?
I think all the AI agents, which the US says, hey, you know what? I'm going to replace customer support. I'm going to replace like, salespeople, BDR, all of that. That doesn't really work for the Indian landscape as of today, right? So, for example, I had also written this piece where voice AI is good enough to do lot transactional conversations, sending a reminder or nudging you to do one simple step. It's not there at a persuasion layer where I can't, like, just a voice AI alone cannot convince you to buy an insurance. Or voice AI cannot convert you from like where you dropped off a cart, it cannot convince you to make that purchase fully. So that is acting a little negatively, like even for like the builders and sellers here, because you're looking at the US market. And one interesting thing that has happened is whatever now happens in US market, all the regional channels are picking up, like regional media is picking up, and they're talking about it. Like my mom knows Sam Altman, so and she knows ChatGPT, she knows Perplexity, she knows, like, she might not know Anthropic, but she definitely knows Gemini because Gemini is already in her phone.
Mhm.
So that hype cycle of, oh, everything can potentially be done. Now when you go and sell it to a business owner in India, they assume that now there is no barrier, like they can ask for anything at like a much cheaper cost, right? To make that economics work for India, you need a fundamental rethinking of the models, like the pricing, all of it, which very few people are even attempting it right now. So that is definitely overhyped. Looking at what is possible with a English first world and saying that all of them with that sort of efficacy is possible in India is definitely overhyped.
So, as the flip side to the question, what do you think is being overlooked?
overlooked is this, right? So, like, let's say, for example, there's a huge space for like a chat GPT for India, or even like OpenAI for India. There's a huge space for 11 labs for India, right? And what else? There's a huge space for even like a Gemini VO3 for India, right? So all of that space is open, but are people working towards it? I don't know. I don't think so.
How would you say, just to double click on that, right? Like when you said Chat GPT for India,
Yeah.
what would make Chat GPT for India? Is it just the languages?
It's about the one is language. I'll give you a simple example, right? I keep a lot of brainstorming around how to sell enterprise softwares for enterprise softwares, let's put it that. I'm not even saying India. So Anthropic, ChatGPT repeatedly talk about, hey, show them the value, show them the number of hours that are being saved. Convert that into how many dollars per hour that they're saving. And show this value and they will understand. This is a very rational way of buying softwares. In India, people don't do that calculation. People don't understand this idea of how many hours, like what is my value per hour. We are not trained that way. So the way you need to sell softwares in India is very, very different because you need to understand the cultural context. In West, imagine there is an enterprise. Every department will have their own budgets, and each department will think about, okay, this month, or sorry, this year I have $1 million budget. I'm going to go and buy these softwares. In India, some enterprise will also have this budget, but the approvals are all very centralized. Even if I know the head of the particular department, I go pitch it. He has to take it to the CEO for him to get approved. Just the way of how businesses works, how life is very, very different. So even smaller nuances, like whatever ChatGPT suggests, you or me will be okay with it because we don't really live like a traditional or like a common man in India, right? That's why we are more similar to like the I don't know like top 10 percentage of like US, the kind of shows that we watch, the kind of food we like, the kind of places we travel, the kind of income that we have, all of it, right? But but that's not how most of the India sort of lives or
No, that's
has the
true.
mental model.
That's true. And also, India is the economic landscape of India is it's very unique, right? For example, if you take quick commerce, things like Blinkit and all that
Hmm.
are very unique to India. You wouldn't be able to be able to establish a business model like that viably in a place
Yeah.
like the US. But hey, Dharmesh, this has been a great conversation. Love the chat. And before I let you go, I just want you to wanted to pick your mind on any 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 final words of advice for young entrepreneurs looking to build in AI and innovate in the space.
We are in an era where it has become easier to build. Figuring out what to build is more important. So, if there is one skill set that you should be picking up, is your skill set of understanding people, understanding humans. Ultimately, you're going to build something that is eventually going to affect a human being. All the agents might be a middleman, they will do the work, etc. But the satisfaction, the finally the wallet share needs to come from another human being. Correct. So building that skill set of understanding the life of another person without being judgmental is going to be a great skill set, right? So, as much as you're putting effort into tech, if you put in the effort into talking to people, understanding people, I think that will definitely compound over a period of time.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Dharmesh. This was a fantastic conversation, and I loved every single minute of it. Thanks.